Hey, what's up, Black family? It's your boy Blackman,
And I shade the EP.
and we are here to bring you episode 2 of Blak Thoughtz. And today we're giving you our Blak Thoughts on mental health, tackling depression and anxiety.
Yep.
Part 1. There we go. Today we just want to thank you guys for coming out real quick. We have a lot of you joining in, and we appreciate you so much. Say a couple words, babe.
Hi Jess, thank you for joining. So the purpose of this episode is to bring awareness and to start conversation, and it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, mental health is a very uncomfortable conversation in our community for a myriad of reasons that we will get into later. But we just really felt this is something that we both feel very strongly about. Mm-hmm. A healthy mind equals a healthy body. That's where you start first. And we just feel like it's something that's not taken very seriously in our community, personally and publicly, or even where we have like celebrities. Like, I'd hate to just bring celebrities up, but like even Kanye West, where even if you do agree with certain things that he says and certain things that he does, Kanye West himself admits that he does in fact suffer from bipolar disorder. And it seems like this is just something that people seem to actually forget, even though he made it the literal cover of his album. Yeah. And even though, like I said, even though there are things that you may agree with what he says and does, it seems like he is in a state of distress. Mm-hmm. It seems like he is in a manic state. And he's denying help. No one's going to help him. And then it seems like people are just like pushing him forward in the wrong direction.
Right. And I feel like some people don't understand how serious mental health is, especially bipolar disorder, because there's two different spectrums of bipolar disorder, which we can get to at a different episode, because bipolar disorder is very serious. But I feel like, especially in the Black community, people are told, well, just pray on it or you'll be okay, instead of actually giving them help and resources to tackle what's happening to them.
Yes, sir. So today, since we're tackling mental health, today we are focusing on depression. That will be part 1 of this episode. And next weekend, if you tune in live on Instagram at 7 p.m., we will be tackling anxiety, which is almost the complete opposite and deserves its own day. So today we're focusing on depression. But before we hop into that, we have a couple shout outs for you, the Black family. Yes. I want to take a second to shout out 2 good sisters, 2 queens. We have a queen currently working on an application for nursing school.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
And we have another queen that is marking up her business plan to pitch.
Making moves.
And then we have one good brother that I'm going to shout out, my brother Raymundo, who taped the pilot for his show yesterday. He's editing it now, and it will be debuting soon. So, hey, as a couple of members of the Black family that I want to shout out, what you got to say, babe?
So I want to shout out a brother for Joey. He's doing a very good job of tackling his diet, and we all know diet is very hard.
Yes.
I also want to shout out a good sister, Shani. She is doing very well she's on her 2nd week of her workout regimen, and we all know working out is hard and actually sticking to a routine. So shout out to you. And my 3rd shout out is to our sister Lauren. So I want to give her a good shout out because she is starting to drink more water. So she's been with us for a few weeks now, and we've been checking in on her every so often. So she's doing a very good job.
Yeah, our good sister Lauren's been with us since day 1, and we appreciate her so much, and we are rooting for you, sis. We're all in this together.
We are.
I need more water as well.
Same.
There we go. Now, sis, let's hop into today's topic. Do you want to cover the definition?
Yeah, okay, so depression is a mood disorder that can cause persistent feelings of sadness or loss of interest, and it can affect how you feel, how you think, how you behave, and it can also lead to various, emotional and physical problems. So gaining weight, losing weight, constantly being sad, things like that.
Now, the common signs of depression are sadness, a lack of interest in activities that you normally enjoy, a change in your appetite, which could lead to weight gain or weight loss. It could disturb your sleep. It could cause fatigue. It could cause a feeling of worthlessness or guilt. You can find difficulty concentrating. One of the most severe symptoms is thoughts of suicide, which also in this community is not addressed enough, which is becoming a problem more and more every day, year by year. Now, some symptoms that hit home to me are things that they're kind of everyday things, but you may not associate them with depression. And they are anger and aggression, alcohol and drug abuse, and partaking in high risk activities, often like fighting, street racing, cutting yourself or self-harm, the things that give you a feeling, that make you feel alive. Yeah. And the things that jumped out to me were anger and aggression, alcohol abuse, and also sometimes it can affect your sex drive. Yep. And for a young man like myself, if you grew up in my era, I'm 29, a lot of these things sound like rap music. So for a young man like myself, it may just seem like these things are just normalized because, like, hey, like, growing up, like, we see rappers on TV, we buy their albums, we idolize these people. Most times in our community, we don't have a man to, like, look up to in our household for reasons that we'll get into later. So this is how some people feel that they're supposed to act. Right. Not knowing that deep down on the inside, they may actually just be suffering.
Right. There you go. Next. So we're going to get into some causes. And, one cause can be biochemistry, so the difference in chemicals in your brain. So you can have a chemical imbalance that can cause, your depression. We can also have genetics, it can also run in your family. And also historical, inheritance too, especially for Black people, because we've been through so much, like slavery, the Jim Crow era, civil rights era, and the trauma that we even face today that's still going on. So Columbia University, the Department of Psychiatry, wrote an article in 2009, and they stated that historically, the Black community was and continues to be disadvantaged in mental health throughout subjection to trauma through enslavement, oppression, colonialism, racism, and segregation. A growing body of research suggests that traumatic experiences can cause profound biological changes in the person experiencing the traumatic event. Cutting edge researchers are also beginning to understand how the psychological changes are genetically encoded and passed down to future generations.
And I quote, once again, that was written in 2019 by the Department of Psychiatry at Columbia University. Mm-hmm. So, especially today, we still see these things, where even in 2020, where we're supposedly almost 200 years removed from slavery, even right now in the summer, Black people have somehow found our way right smack dab in the middle of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. Many people are out of work, so we're facing poverty. Mm-hmm. And somehow, in 2020, we ended up in the middle of a civil rights movement.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. I also want to shout out you guys. I see you guys getting active in the comments. Shout out our big brother Jason, who's always been a big supporter. My brother Sasha. Yo! Sasha!
We also have, hey Andre. Joey, thank you for joining.
About our big brother Andre from Renowned Fitness.
Yes.
That suit.
Oh, yes. If you guys saw my video earlier, I had on my Renowned Fitness two-piece long sleeve top, long bottom. It is super comfortable, ladies. Go get it. The link is in that video that I think it was the last video. No, the second to last video. Go to his page, order. Guys, he's dropping some joggers soon, so keep your eyes open for that. Okay.
And what's this? Please share this guy.
Oh, hey, Roosevelt.
Hey, come on, we was on the live. I don't know. What's it? And my brother, and so we support Black business over here, and they
all the way.
My brother, anything that fits tight on my girlfriend, I support it all the way. So, Renowned Fitness, Andre Encore Moore.
I can't.
Brother. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. Thank you. And so we're gonna hop right back into a serious moment. We're gonna get right back. We're gonna get right back into the causes. The next is personality. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes we find ourselves not having the best outlook on life and not having also like the best outlook on ourselves. Mm-hmm. Whereas, especially in our youth and even in adulthood, we may not feel that we look our best.
Yeah, and I think social media has made that more serious now because you see so many models, Instagram models, and they look thin, they have, butt and, breasts, and you think, oh, I need to look like that. But in reality, you're fine the way you are. And I feel like because things are so magnified, it makes you forget that who you are is what matters.
Yeah, especially in a world where we as Black people are subconsciously we're taught to hate ourselves.
Yes, that is very important. Yes. We are. And it's funny because we're taught to hate ourselves while the people that are teaching us to hate ourselves want to be us.
Yes. We're taught to hate how big our lips are.
Our nose is.
While other people go and get lip fillers and make supposedly $1 billion selling lip kits. Yeah, we're taught to hate the texture of our hair, even though hey, perms were not our idea. It was hey, I like how scraggly this is. These braids, I love them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It took me until college. So until I went to college at 17, so around 18, 19, that's when I actually embraced my natural hair. Walking outside with it curly and big and just beautiful. Before then, I would just have it straightened or just, braided up, but mostly straightened. But it took me a really long time to realize how beautiful my hair is.
Yes, and it comes from the media, and sometimes it can come from within our own community. I know, obviously, if you look at me, I am an extra, extra dark chocolate brother.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And I love, love, love this dark chocolate skin, but it took me a while to get through this. Because even within our community, there is colorism that was taught to us by other people. Especially with the Willie Lynch letter. Mm. So I grew up most of my life being told that hey, my black skin is bad. Even when times like this with the summer, I was told to stay out of the sun because I didn't want to get darker. And hey, I love the sun. I love the beach. The beach loves me. All the sun be shining down on this melanin, and I get extra, extra melanin. It's like going Super Saiyan 3. And I love it. And I love it. I love it. And then also, Black people, and we have I don't want to say Black people are pessimists, but sometimes we can be. I mean,
I feel like we have to learn to not accept, the hate towards ourselves and be able to look inside ourselves and say, you know what? Forget what they're saying. I am beautiful. I may be dark, but I'm beautiful. I may be caramel, but I'm still beautiful. My hair may be big and curly, but it's still beautiful because black hair is the most diverse hair ever. So forget all the other people. Our hair is the best.
And shout outs to you, sis, for it took you to high school, but hey, you got there. Yeah. Embrace that afro. Your afro is beautiful.
And I think the best thing is to actually acknowledging and embracing who you are. Because I feel like some people live their lives not accepting themselves and just being angry,
Yes. And yes, we have a lot to be angry about. We've seen, it seems like, pardon me, guys. It seems like maybe at at least once a month. I love you so much. Appreciate you. So there's it seems like at least once a month, maybe every other month, you can go on Facebook, you can come right here on Instagram, you can go on Twitter, and you can see another one of us being slaughtered.
Yeah.
And that then leads us to our next one. Another cause could be environment. Yeah. We are often exposed to abuse, violence, neglect, and poverty, and these have sounded like the things that have plagued us for the last 400 years to this day. If I'm quoting my brother, the bronze bomber. I'm drinking this water.
Yeah, we've been through so much, and I feel like as a people, we need to. The first step is to acknowledge the pain that we're going through, and being able to accept that we're going to need help. Because I feel like your mind is a strong foundation to be better. Because if nothing is gonna rock your mind, I think you're solid. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. There you go. And so we wanted to jump into like how this affects our community specifically.
Yeah.
So I really want you guys to grasp the.
Yes, Shani, we do need healing. We really do. I just wanted to acknowledge that real quick. I'm sorry.
Yes, I do feel like shout outs to you, sis, and shout outs for being on week 2 of your workout regimen. We've been thinking about you. Remember to tap twice. There you go. And, we have never in this community. We've never had time to heal. Mm-mm. Yeah, because even like after slavery supposedly ended in 1865, but as not enough of us know that slaves could not read. I don't believe there was newspapers then. I could be wrong. There was definitely no TV then. So the Union winning the war was not widespread information in the South on purpose, because a lot of slave owners held on to their slaves, and they had to be freed by the military or local law enforcement, and sometimes that took years.
Yep.
And then right after that, we went right into the Jim Crow era.
Segregation.
And then segregation, and then we went right into a civil rights movement, where all we said was, hey, we want to be treated civilly. Mm-hmm. We want to be treated not even equal. Civilly. We just wanted to be treated civilly. And we were hosed down and attacked with dogs for it. Yep. And they murdered 2 of our leaders in Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We watched these men die on TV. That is a lot of trauma that our ancestors, who many of which are still with us, have been passed down to us genetically. And
I also feel like going through all those events can lead us to feel like, we're losing hope. We go from being enslaved to, being free. Yes, that's a sign of hopefulness. Okay, we're no longer, bound to these, white people who are enslaving us. And then, we think we can live in society among everybody else, but we can't, because there are restrictions on us. And then after that, we can't even get a house, in a good location, because they have redlining. So every time we think we can step up and become better for ourselves, there's always a roadblock on top of roadblock. So I feel like in a community that creates hopelessness.
Yeah. So I want to quickly jump into how this affects the Black community personally. Depression is a worldwide epidemic, but it is, as with most bad things, we seem to suffer the most. And even right now with coronavirus, it is affecting Black and Hispanics the most. Yep. Because many of us are the quote unquote lower level medical workers. They're the janitors in the hospitals, our nurses, who are not lower level, but just for the sake of conversation, many of us were not able to leave their jobs because we just couldn't afford it. Right. So we still have to travel and use the subway, and we are exposed because we are going to work for other people.
Even the cost for masks are high. I went to Walgreens the other day, and a box of 20 was $25. you know, and they're marking up the price for alcohol. It used to be $1. Now it's $5 for 16 ounces.
Yes. Which is completely like insane.
Yeah.
And I want to jump into some very, very staggering statistics here. So, according to mentalhealthamerica.org, 13.4% of the United States population identifies as African American. That is 46 million people. Of those 46 million people, over 16% reported having mental illness in the past year. That is over 7 million people.
Keyword is reported because a lot of mental health cases, even domestic violence cases, do not go reported.
Yeah. Also, as African Americans, we are more than 10% likely to deal with depression than non-Hispanic whites, but we also report lower treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excuse me.
So, where are you here?
Yeah.
So, according to EurekAlert.org, a 2017 study done by the University of Toledo's Dr. James Price found that between 2001 and 2007, the rate of suicide deaths by young black males increased by 60%.
In that same study, we found that suicide is the second leading cause of death after homicide for African Americans between the ages of 13 and 19. But, according to the Department of U.S. Health and Human Services in 2017, suicide was the leading cause of death in African Americans ages 15 to 24.
Yeah. And African American females from grades 9 to 12 are 70% more likely to attempt suicide compared to non-Hispanics.
And I wanted to stress that these studies are done on our youth because those teenage years are your formative years of life, and I don't think there's enough attention paid to that. Like, yeah, we can all say, like, yeah, children are stupid, they're going to make bad ideas, but the things that you do and the things that you experience as a teenager will shape your future.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sure.
Yeah, so you think about it, like, I would say, like, a 30-year-old, that's what we would all say, like, a 30-year-old is like an adult. You have spent 18 years of your life as a child and 12 years as, quote-unquote, someone an adult. Education is still through, like, 21. You'll spend more than half of your life as a child. So things that you experience when you're young will shape you when you are older. And a lot of us get lost when we're young because many of our parents are overworked.
Yep.
So we don't have many people watching us. We don't have the best guidance. And I believe this community has, like, along the way, we lost that village mentality where we all take care of each other.
Yep.
Which I feel that we do need to get back because we need to save our children so we can have a better future.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It went from it takes a village to raise a child, to it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yes. Because this feels like, hey, no matter what, like, I have to survive.
Yeah.
And we have been turned against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And ourselves.
Yes.
So it's not just each other, but ourselves.
Yes.
So we want to go into personal experiences of how, we've dealt with depression, if we had depression, if we know someone that has depression. And then we also encourage you guys, you don't have to, but, if you want to write in the comments, your experience. And if you want us to share, we will share. So I would say I experienced depression a little bit when I actually want to make this disclaimer first. Depression does not look like the same for everybody. So
yes.
How I'm depressed can be different from how Blackman is depressed or how Joe from down the street is depressed. Depression is not uniform, just so you know. So when I finished college a few years ago, 2017, I didn't have a job in the field that I went to school for, and I applied everywhere I could, had interviews, didn't get anything, and I was upset. Like, I was angry. I kept going back to the same job that I hated. When it was time for me to walk for graduation, because I left school early, I didn't want to go. I did not want to go. But my family convinced me to go anyway, so I went, I walked, whatever. I wasn't happy. I hated it. I hated my job, but I still forced myself to get up and, just perform as, a functional human being. And then I saw a difference after I joined House of Glory, because before I left for college, I would go and train for wrestling, and then I would keep leaving and coming back because I went to school, away to school. So when I came back from college, I didn't wrestle because I didn't have money to go. So I was just like, all right, I'll wait for a little bit. And then one of my really good friends, Roosevelt, who's with us now, showed me they had an open house. So I was like, you know what? F it, I'll go. So I went, and then I felt so much better. Like, I found an outlet, so I didn't feel like I'm not doing anything with my life. Like, I felt happy again. So that was my one experience of, being depressed.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, thank you for sharing all that. It takes strength to do it. But for more people like me, where to an extent I'm kind of an open book, where I can sit in front of you and say that, like, hey, I can identify myself as being depressed from a young age, and it is not clinical, but it was also diagnosed by a doctor. Mm-hmm. So first of all, shout out to all of my bad kids out there. Through elementary and junior high school, you do know what it's like to be sent to the guidance counselor at a very young age. Every week, I fought all the time. I was bullied. I was a bully. I was just a very angry kid. So I spent a lot of time with my guidance counselor. So through this, I did end up in therapy, and that's not something that I'm ashamed of, because, like, hey, as an adult, I can say that maybe I possibly know myself and function better than most. Mm-hmm. To where, because I'm not afraid to go, say, hey, I need help. Like, as I said, I grew up, for most people that knew me when I was younger, I grew up a very, very fat kid, which caused self-esteem problems for me. I was bullied, and as you know, hurt people, so I also was a bully. Even in, my older age, when, during grieving the ending of a relationship that lasted for a very long time, when it ended, I thought, I really didn't see any difference in myself. I thought everything was okay, and then it was just literally one day I was taking out the trash, and all of my recycling was just beer bottles and ice cups. And I looked at it and I was like, maybe I'm not okay. and I called the counselor. But so we all, at different times, we all go through these things. That there's seasonal depressions. Some people in the winter months, when we can't go out as much because the weather is bad, family goes away for a vacation. We can face depression due to feeling lonely. Mm-hmm. There is postpartum depression, mm-hmm. where
a mother will, after they have their child, they'll get depressed and they'll feel overwhelmed and they'll get anxiety because they just have so much to deal with.
Yeah. Motherhood is a big deal. You are responsible for a whole life, and to even grasp that could be depressing.
Yeah.
So you're responsible, hey, and even and most of us, hey, you may not want to say it, most of us are screwed up ourselves, and now we have to be responsible for bringing another human being in this world and not screwing them up.
Yeah.
While not letting them screw themselves up.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to make it clear that, hey, fathers also get postpartum depression, which I believe in general, and maybe even more in this community, it's not addressed enough. Whereas a lot of us didn't have a father. We may have had a big brother or an uncle or like, hey, the dude's on the corner, but it's very hard to grasp the fact that you are gonna become a father, and no one ever taught you how to do this. There you go.
I feel like a lot of men's feelings aren't taken seriously. You know, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, one of our viewers, you want to read it?
From.
Excuse me.
Hey, you can't see it in my house. Yeah. So shout outs to you, Aberrant XO, who said, "Ain't nothing wrong with therapy. It has a bad stigma to where you should go there if you're a lunatic or weak." And we are going to get to that later on. There is nothing wrong with wanting to go to someone to make sense of the mess. Exactly. And we're going to address this a little further later on, but I love the way you put that, sis. There is absolutely nothing wrong with going somewhere to make sense of the mess. Because mostly, hey, we are all a mess. At some point in our lives, our parents screwed us up. Society screwed us up. We've made mistakes and we have screwed ourselves up. I'd like to point out that my girlfriend's changing because we are in Casa de Blackman and I am having trouble trying to concentrate. Hey, she's back. Hey. Cool.
Sorry, I got hot.
There we go. And we also have our good sister Chandel, who was woman enough to come forward and say, "I experienced major lows post baby." So I'm absolutely right, and I know that, sis. And it's important for you to know that you do have your tribe. This is 2 members right here. I am Big Chief Blackman, and no matter what this is, Ashe the EP. And we are here for you. And like, hey, any of us like, hey, if you know us here at Blak Thoughtz, we are always thinking of you. We got your back. Any problem, anytime, day or night, you can DM us and we will get back to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And we got some resources for you later on. For anything that, hey, we can't deal with, there are professionals out there for you.
And don't think that you guys are going to be a burden, you know, asking for help and just wanting to vent. Like, we're here for you. You know, because at the end of the day, you're gonna need somebody to listen to you, just like we need someone to listen to us, you know. Yeah. And you know, my favorite artist, Bill Withers, said, "Lean on me," you know. So if you haven't heard that song, listen to it. It's one of my favorite. But yeah, by all means, message us. It's okay. We are happy to help.
And I'm going to see if we're going to get this right, because us here at Blak Thoughtz are all about melanin and
motivation.
So we got your back here. Whatever the problem is, whatever that storm is, we're going to weather it and we're going to get through. Because, hey, in the words of Nelly and the Saint Lunatics, we all we got. She missed that generation.
I don't know anything when it comes to music references, a lot of movie references. Yeah, I'm very bad. He hates it, but I'm very bad. One
day on live, we're gonna play that black card game, and I swear, like, I'm gonna
lose.
I'm gonna have like a whole deck of just her things that she just does not know.
I'm gonna lose. Out of like 100, I probably know like 3, maybe 2. I'm being nice, probably 2. I really don't know anything.
That just depressed me.
I lived under a rock.
That's not funny. It's not funny, but hey, black people laugh through the pain.
Yeah, we do. I think it's sometimes sad though. You know, my coworker was actually telling me, I said this last time, that we just laugh things off just to not make it seem as serious as it is.
Yes. So like
I do that a lot.
Yeah. So like so that brings up a good point. Where like historically, especially through our comedians, our artists, like our actors, the trauma and the pain in our community has always been dealt with through creativity. Mm-hmm. But even though like sometimes like it could go too far, and like I know that we spoke about it like a little last week, and I don't want to spend like too much time on it, but I want to point out Will Smith.
Yeah.
Will Smith's partial crying face became a meme, and dude's just sitting there in pain, and everyone thought it was funny. Yeah. With his wife sitting in front of him, making excuses for an affair she had.
And she's like, and her demeanor was like nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, it happened. Yeah. Like, when the man you're supposed to love is sitting across from you in pain.
Yeah. And Black Twitter just made a meme of it. I love Black Twitter. Sometimes things can go too far, though, especially with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I guess leads us into the stigma of mental health and the Black community.
Yes.
So there is a study that showed that 63% of African Americans consider mental health a sign of weakness. And I know a few of you touched on that in the comments, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why people may not get treatment, because they feel like, I'm just being weak, or, toughen it up.
So I want to shout out I'll say little brother Raymundo, who just shot his pilot this week and will be debuting soon. So shout out to you, brother. We are looking forward to that. Your family at Blak Thoughtz. We've been thinking about you. Yeah, you get a little rhythm there. But yeah, so my brother Raymundo said, as someone who still battles with depression, and I'm proud of you for saying that, I will say that the word that sadly mentally you identify yourself as a burden, as you feel you must force yourself to keep things in, and it's why they say the most hurting try to put on smile for others. Yep. That's absolutely right. There are times where, hey, like, you may want to reach out to your friends. You don't want to feel like a burden. Mm-hmm. And then we don't always take things the most serious anyway. Yeah. And especially as a male, where we're not, especially as a Black male and a Hispanic male, and our communities are alike, we may not, we don't all know how to deal with our emotions, honestly. So even telling your friends is, your friends may not know how to process this information. Yeah. Which does cause the stigma in our community. So we both have very strong points that we talk about all the time. I feel yours is more severe.
About what?
It's okay, baby. You will get to it. So I feel yours is more severe. So if it's okay with you, I want to start with mine first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
wait, can I just say, to Raymundo, when I do feel like a burden sometimes, if I have problems, I just okay, it'll work itself out. I don't like to reach out to people. I don't like to talk to him sometimes because I'm he has his own problems and I don't want to add mine on top of it. Or I'll have a good friend that I'll reach to. I'm you know what? She's dealing with her issues. I don't want to reach out to her. But I feel like the strongest thing you can do is always taking that step to reach out. Even if they say, come to me, it still takes that willpower to go to them. So believe us when we say you can always come to us. If you have to talk, we will listen. Okay, you can go.
And my brother, you were with us a couple minutes ago when we said it, but hey, we here at Blak Thoughtz, you didn't do it.
I'm sorry.
We here at Blak Thoughtz, we are your tribe. I am Big Chief Blackman, and this is
Ashay, the EP.
And you can come to us whenever you want, my brother. We got you. And so quickly to jump back into it, to address the stigma of mental health and depression and anxiety in our community. So, personally, as a young Black man, due to our fathers being taken away by an unjust criminal system, being lost to the street life, some of our men end up being immature. Like I said, we don't have many father figures to teach us how to move correctly. Mm-hmm. And which I don't think gets enough credit. Many of our fathers are also just overworked. The good times James Evan types fathers do still exist, where it's a man that's just out there that has 3, maybe 4 jobs just to feed his family and take care of his kids. And he can be a great provider, but being there physically, emotionally, he may not have the time for. And even though he's doing his best, hey, as a son, you may get lost. So seeing as many of our fathers and our uncles are taken away, we are raised by our mothers, our aunts, our cousins, most of our teachers. Until I got to high school, all of my teachers were women, Black women, or Hispanic. And so as a young Black man, I've spent most of my life under the advisement and under tutelage of women, But as a young black man, if you pick up the traits of those women, you will be ridiculed for it. You will be shamed for it. So, for example, like if you show emotion like a woman would, like if there's a time where like, hey, you feel like crying, you're told not to cry. We're also boys do not cry when crying is a form of expression.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a release.
Yes, it's a release. Some things like get heavy, and it's like letting a weight off. Yeah. Or sometimes you may be irrational and not know how to control your feelings as a man because, like, hey, no one was around to teach me these things. Mm-hmm. So it's either I cannot I cannot express myself the way that my mother, my aunt, my sister, all my teachers would. I cannot express myself the way that they would because I'd be ridiculed and shamed for it. And then I was never taught how to express myself the way that a man should. So having to hold in all of these emotions could just lead to a deeper depression.
Yeah. Where
it could just lead you to alcohol abuse. Could lead you to like anger, aggression, high risk activities, as I mentioned before. And even though obviously personally as a black man myself, for me it's always first things first. I protect black women. Especially saying it's like, hey, I was raised by a black woman, all black women. Because if it wasn't my mother, it was my cousin. And I have aunts. All of my teachers were black except for maybe one. So I hold black women in the highest regard. And I feel like there's always been too much pressure put on you and not enough regard. So I'd like for you to jump in to... I'm not going to take it away from you. So I'm just going to let you guys take this going.
Protecting black women will also be a future episode. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But the point that I had was the strong black woman phrase and title that we get. I know that we love black women and we admire them and the impact that they have in the black community, you know, whether it's with their family, with in school or what have you. But labeling them as the strong black woman can be more harmful than you think it's a praise, because the word strong has the capacity to make you feel like, well, if I'm strong, I can't be weak. So if I'm strong, I can't have the emotion of crying or feeling overwhelmed or just being overworked or having so much on me. So, like, I understand that, you know, being a black woman and you guys appreciate us, but sometimes labeling us as a strong black woman can also be, I guess, hindering, you know?
Yeah.
So because with that, there's a high expectation, you know, for us to be strong and resilient. And there are times where we can be labeled as crazy when we have a mental breakdown because there's so much expected of us and there's so much that we're doing, you know? Like, for example, I work a lot, and there are times where I just feel so overwhelmed and that I just don't want to sleep because I have so much to do. And he's just like, you need to rest, you know? Take care of yourself first and then do what you have to do.
Yeah, and I don't want a hand clap or a pat on the shoulder for anything like that. I just feel like, hey, especially like I went to the protests after the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, and always the first person I saw, the loudest person I saw, leadership came from a black woman, and just being there and seeing them, I looked at each and every one of these men, and I was thankful that they were there, and I was thankful that they were fighting for us. But I'd just be like, yo, like, sis, you've done enough, bro. Like, so, like, after being born and after raising me, Black women have done enough, bro. That's all I needed. Like, we found ourselves in like the middle of like a war right now, and like, let me go fight that. And I wish as a community of black men, more of us like gravitated toward that mentality, because I don't want our women on the front line. Especially if we're going to have these protests, especially with how things have gone this past summer, with like police brutality is at a rise, where they didn't care if you were black, brown, green, white. They were attacking everybody. I don't want our black women out there, because I feel like, bro, like, you guys have done enough.
Yeah, and I feel like don't think he's saying, oh yeah, women don't deserve to be out there. Like, he's just saying that because you guys do so much, leave it to the men to fight for you. Yeah. Because you're already fighting for so much. Yes,
I feel like, especially under with depression, like anxiety, black women, there's always someone to be taken care of. There's always a fire to be put out somewhere, and usually a black woman is on top of it, and they don't have enough time to take care of themselves. Right. So they don't have enough time to deal with their emotions, especially like if you are like especially like you're raising children, and like I said, like, hey, our fathers get taken away by the justice system. Our fathers get taken away by the streets. Our fathers are overworked, and as a woman, you can get stuck raising 1, 2, 3 kids alone because our fathers are not around. To sort out your emotions, to like deal with these children, you may not have time to calmly speak to these kids and like teach them, and like, you will get irritated, you will get angry, you will yell a lot, and hey, like, it works faster than talking to them calmly, because you can instill fear in them. Mm-hmm. But then, like, in general, I just don't feel like black women have enough time to like sort themselves out, and that's how they get lost in like the world and lost within themselves. And there's like mentally, physically, they just don't take care of themselves enough, because there's just always so much to do. Yeah.
Which will lead us into problems with the healthcare system. Like, I personally do not like to go to the doctor. He hates it because, like, something's always wrong with me, but I just let it, chill, let it figure itself out. But I hate going to the doctor. But, because there's a lack of trust in the medical system, and historically for black people, we'll take the syphilis, the Tuskegee syphilis study, for example, where they.
I'd hate to interrupt you, but you and I spend a lot of time studying. So hey, we're gonna break the fourth wall real quick. Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is a study that was put out by the same Columbia University Department of Psych that we mentioned earlier.
Oh, hey, Juice.
Juicy. There's a lack of trust in the medical system due to historical abuse of black people in the guise of healthcare. Yeah. There's less access to adequate insurance, culturally responsive mental health providers, financial burden, and the past history with discrimination in the mental health system.
And if you notice, like, when you go to your doctor, they're so quick to get you out because they have so many other patients to see. Like, they'll have 20 patients. But if you go to, let's say, a white community, they'll spend more time with you. They'll ask you questions. They'll want to know really what's going on. They want to get a deeper understanding of what's happening, but because they have the time. But for us, it's so, okay, why are you here? Okay, cool, here you go. Go to the pharmacy, get some medicine, and then you're fine.
Yeah, and then, like, in the medical field for us, like, even like if you want to get help when you're mentally in when you're mentally in distress and you want to get help, having access to healthcare in itself is a challenge. Mm-hmm. And then it's actually trusting healthcare, because in the past, like, there have been so much done to black people in general where I can totally see why you don't trust doctors and why our community doesn't trust the healthcare system at all. Whereas you were about to touch on the Tuskegee Airmen.
It's not Airmen, babe. The syphilis study.
Yeah, but it was on the Tuskegee Airmen, right?
No.
Okay, you fix it. I'm sorry, I messed up, and a black woman's gonna fix it. I'm sorry.
But I also wanted to, touch on the Tuskegee syphilis study and also the black mortality rate for black women. Going to the doctor, there are a lot of black women who are dying giving birth, and that truly scares me. Like, that makes me really not want to go to the hospital and give birth. Like, I want to have a natural home birth. Because I shouldn't be going to the hospital wondering if I'm going to die while I'm trying to give a life. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That should not be one of my worries.
Yes.
Especially being black.
Yes. And it's for black people in general, especially with black women. There is no discrimination where you would think a Beyonce and a Serena Williams with all of their money and all their resources, them giving birth would have no problem. And even both of them spoke about the difficulties that they face with their doctors and their team. Mm-hmm. Where Serena Williams almost died, where we could have lost. I was gonna say we could have lost the legend, but hey, at the end of the day, that's a life. Any life at the end of the day.
Yep. I don't, my mother had complications with me, and thankfully, we're both alive. But, some people are not that lucky. They're lucky, and it's sad to say they're lucky to be alive. And that shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't have to leave the hospital lucky, especially when you're giving birth, and it should be such a joyous feeling,
Yes. And then, so lastly, and this is going to shake the table a little bit.
Shaking the table.
But, so I don't mean to offend anyone. I do want to point out that I myself am a Christian. But there are times when we do open up to our friends and family when we are mentally in distress, when life gets too heavy and we just need someone to talk to. Raise your hand if you were told to ever just pray on it.
I have to think about it, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say, stop saying that shit.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't cuss around here, but like, hey, stop saying that shit.
It's like, super dismissive. Super dismissive.
Yes, it is dismissive, and on top of that, even the Bible says, the Lord helps those who helps themselves. And as Christians, we believe that everything here on earth is here for a reason, and that God put it here. That includes doctors. That includes psychiatrists. That includes therapists. That includes licensed counselors. These are the resources that the Lord, Jehovah, put here, his dams. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Put himself.
That he put here himself. So that, hey, he doesn't have to troubleshoot us. Go troubleshoot yourself. I put these doctors here. You go use them. So yes, pray on it. Still get to work.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not saying, don't believe in God and don't talk to him, but you also still have to work for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he can show you the way. Like he can put somebody in your path.
Yes.
Probably like us today. And with the resources that we're going to give you later, use one of them.
Yes.
Whether it's us or the ones that we're going to talk to you about later, and also post on our page so you have them and can come back and reference them at a later time.
And I'm going to quote one of the low-key greatest rappers of all time. You can dispute that if you want to. Drake. I'm the type to pray to God and then go get what I just prayed for. So if you want mental stability, you can pray. Mm-hmm. That can be your first line of defense. You still have to go out there and get that. Yep. And and you can use these methods that we're about to get into right now. how to better yourself and how to deal with depression.
Yep.
First things first, I think we should just start there. It may have been last. I think first things first, we'll just start there. Take your ass to therapy.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
but I have been doing it. You know, I actually had a call today, and I felt better. You know, it just feels good to have someone to express, you know, your feelings to, and then having them give you options and a different perspective of what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
So please don't just dismiss it, think about it, and then, you know, act on it.
Yes, as our good sister stated earlier, you have to go see someone to make sense of the mess. Mm-hmm. I've been going to therapy on and off since I was a child, and sometimes it's helped, sometimes it hasn't, but it has given me a better understanding of myself. And there are times when I'm confused and I'm going down the wrong road. They can help get me back onto the right one, but I have to steer myself.
Yeah.
So please, 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 put the stigma to the side. Don't be afraid to take your ass to therapy, especially if you are lucky enough to have the resources to do so, because we are not all blessed as such.
Mm-hmm. And the strongest thing you can do is to accept that you need help, and then going to get the help. So, you want to start with the coping?
Yeah. So first things first. Again, take your ass to therapy, and then not only therapy.
Yeah. There's different things that you can do in your daily life that can help you deal with depression, like exercising. You know, whether it's going out for a walk or going out for a run, or just doing some push-ups and burpees. Maybe not, I don't like burpees, but, you know, just do something, you know?
Yeah, so this exercise, I also want to piggyback on exercise, is also a healthy diet. Mm-hmm. Especially seeing as there a lot of, the root of depression for a lot of people is low self-esteem. Not liking how we are, not liking the way that we look. And I like to say that every day is a work day, because every day we are working on ourselves. A healthy diet and a healthy exercise regimen are great ways to work on yourself. It'll change your outlook on life. When you look good, you feel good, and that will just better your mood. I honestly, I'm gonna have to look up the definition of endorphins, but exercise does raise your endorphins. In there.
Also, if you don't really want to exercise, you can also meditate. Like, if y'all listen to J. Cole, y'all know I love J. Cole. Well, if y'all don't know, y'all know he's right here. I love J. Cole. But on his latest album, K.O.D., you know, he's like, meditate. Don't just medicate and, you know, take in all these harmful substances. Meditate, relax your mind, relax your body, and just be calm, be free.
Yeah, shout out to our good brother Ben, who was in our minds. Says, hey, Blak Thoughtz was thinking about you. Obviously, you was thinking about us. We appreciate you, Ben.
Also, music. Even if it's jazz, something light and something free, or even if it's Janae Aiko. Like, I love her too, but just something that's gonna relax and ease your mind.
Yeah, music can calm us, and music can also motivate us and also help center us.
Mm-hmm. Even if that leads you to dancing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got 30 seconds. Let's hurry this up.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So even starting a project to, I don't know, start a project, self-affirmation, tell yourself that
you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
And we are going to post some resources for you guys right after this episode, because Instagram is playing the music and we have to get out of here.